Well, welcome. Thank you guys all for joining today. I'm Olivia Cordy. I'm the AIAS Firm Coordinator for the KU chapter, and we're super excited to have BRR here today for our first virtual firm visit. We've done more traditional firm visits in the past where we visit the actual building, but of course with everything moving to online and coronavirus, this is our new setup. So we're super excited to hear about their firm, and we have a bunch of guests from offices across the country, and there are 11 offices. To come talk to you guys today about what they do and some of their projects. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to our two representatives from BRR. We're going to start with intro on their firm. They're going to talk about some things about their firm. At the end, there'll be a short amount of time for a question and answer. So take it away.
Hi, I'm Ethan Dorning. I'm a 30-week intern from KU.
I'm Andrew Meckler. I graduated from KU in 2015 and am an architect at BRR.
I'm John Gripka. I'm Director of Design here. I've been with the firm for about 9 years.
I'm Katie Beckwith. I graduated in 2016 and I'm an architect here at BRR.
Hi, I'm Joan Red here and I lead our HR group here at BRR.
I'm Leah Edson. I graduated from KU just this past spring, and I'm an architectural designer at BRR.
I'm Shanks. I graduated from KU year 2019. Been here at the firm for 1 year, and I'm an architectural designer as well.
And I'm Laura Bowler. I graduated KU in 2011 with my Master's of Architecture, and I am a program manager here at BRR. Welcome.
All right, so BRR was started in 1963 at our headquarters here in Kansas City. We have 11 other locations across the country, over 280 employees, over 85 licensed architects, which also allows BRR to be licensed in all 50 states. So here is a video of an office tour of our Overland Park, Kansas City location.
Hi, my name is Shanks. I'm a recent grad at the University of Kansas year 2019, and I'm here to give you a tour of Avenue 82, which is BRR's new Kansas City headquarters. And so when you first get off the elevator here at BRR, you pretty much get welcomed by our desk receptionist. Beyond that, we have a marketing team that does all our branding. And then beyond that, we have our QC and codes team. We pretty much have a variety of work areas, whether it's at a booth, a little table, or even being outside, which you get to see a little later. Now we're about to transition into an example of what one of our studios look like here at the firm. Our studios all do different work, from industrial, hospitality, retail, grocery stores, you name it, we can do it. And then here at BRR, we just have different variations of rooms. So this is a focus room for one person. And then here is just a bigger conference room for a larger gathering. And then the next thing here is our interior library. So on the far left here is pretty much all our codes. So if you ever need research on codes, we have it here. And then we have the rest of this is all our interior library. And so pretty much as you're drafting, and even for me as I'm drafting, I'm working on things. I really don't know what I'm really working on, what it looks like. Here we have examples of materials, and I can just pick it up, look at it, and just see what it is I'm actually drawing, which is really beneficial here at BRR. And now we're about to go into one of our biggest rooms here at BRR. It's used for conferences, lunchrooms, lunch and learns. And then what's really cool is that these tables are not stationary. They can move. So you can rearrange this room to do whatever. And then we have this huge opening so it can close up, or you can open it and we can use it for a larger gathering. So one thing that we have here at the firm is Live at the Square, where pretty much everybody at the firm gets together. We get to learn about what's going on here. And it's just a time where you can kind of celebrate everybody and see everybody's faces here. Here on this side is another example of an area you can kind of just take your laptop or just have lunch there. And so as you come up the stairs to the fourth floor, the first thing you get to see is the wee wall. This is something where you get to see everybody in the firm. So not just Kansas City, but you get to see Phoenix, Seattle, Austin, all our regional offices. And it's just a cool spot to recognize everybody who works here. Now we're about to enter our large break room, pretty much an area for you to just hang out with coworkers, have your lunch, have your coffee, even play foosball. Currently it's kind of set up for social distancing practices. So normally it doesn't look like this, but other days we pretty much have a lot of people here. Now we're about to go outside. So again, this is another area where you can kind of hang out, have a break if you need to. People come up here, have lunch, have a talk, and then you get to see what Metcalf looks like out here and get some fresh air. Typically, something that studios do is have happy hours. That's normally on Friday. So at 3 p.m., you probably see a bunch of people up here just having a couple beers here and there, just celebrating the end of the week. And an example of that is right here. Now we're about to pass the I am an architect wall. A cool, and not only cool, but a nice benefit that we have here at the firm is that they really encourage us to have our license. And so they help you pay for your in-car, help you pay for your test, and help you sustain to keep your license here. And so whenever you get to that point of passing your exams, you get to put your stamp here and join everybody here at the firm that has their license here. Something that you'll see on the 4th and 3rd floor. On this side, we have a wellness room, a changing room, and then our women's bathroom, and then our men's bathroom. Now we're about to transition into our print room. So pretty much whenever you finish up with CDs, this is the area where you plot, you staple, and you ship everything off to wherever you need to have them go. Again, this is another example of what our studios will look like here at the firm. A last studio I like to bring up is our Studio Hive team here. A cool thing that they do, that everybody enjoys that they do, is that they do the hardcore design here at the firm. So pretty much they are the ones that make a building come alive before a building gets built here at BRR. Lastly, here on this wall of hard hats, a nice thing that you get to have here at the firm, not only do you just draft, but you actually get to go see the building you're building. And so whenever you're in that process, you can just come here, grab a hard hat, and then go to whatever building you're working on. And so that wraps it up. I'm Shanks. Thank you for touring with us here at BRR.
Okay, so now that Shanks has given us a great tour of what the office actually looks like, we'd like to share with you a little bit of what the culture of our offices is. So one of the biggest parts of our culture is opportunity. And there's a few different things I mean by that. First, we have an open door policy. And what that means is that regardless of your position in the company, everybody is there to talk with you, help you, and just chat. If a principal's door is open, you are more than welcome to stop in and talk. Even now, as many people work remotely, our leadership group is just an instant message away. That leads me to my second point of opportunity, which is the opportunity to collaborate. Whether you're an architect, interior designer, or intern, you'll be working with people from across the company. We do our best to avoid silos of design. And by working closely together between different roles, we not only complete the project efficiently and creatively, but we often learn something in the process. Further into today's presentation, we'll dive a little bit more into the specific ways we collaborate. But lastly, when it comes to opportunity, BRR is great at providing a diversity of client experiences for you. Many of us here today work with multiple clients just in a given week. Additionally, thanks to our nationwide presence, you'll be working with team members that are in different offices all over the country. Prior to and before COVID, plenty of us would travel to a regional office to even complete a project or, maybe do a client charrette. And then another form of opportunity we have at BRR is to engage with our greater community. In fact, BRR views it as an important part of being with our firm, so much so that each employee is given 8 billable hours to volunteer with a community organization. It's up to you how you'd like to use them, be it with a community organization that you've cared about for years, or with the studio that you're working with on a planned gathering. Given the devastating pandemic this year, we're focused on food drives and other events to help those hardest hit. The image you have here is of our Austin office helping out with their local food bank. Obviously, this happened before COVID, so pre-mask times. We also like to stay in touch with our alma maters, and that includes attending career fairs and other university events as alumni. This includes studio critiques and events like today's, where it's a great way to see familiar faces and meet a bunch of new ones. So finally, one of the things that we've increased over the last few years is reaching out to students in high school and middle school before they even joined an architecture school. Our intro to design careers happens about once a semester, and it lets us connect with kids who may have no idea what the design industry even is like. Kids will come to our office and work directly with us to solve a design problem that we give them. They do almost exactly sort of like what you do in an early program in studio at college, where they'll present it, they share it, and they get some feedback on what they could do better and what we really like about it. It's great seeing kids let their creativity loose.
So another thing we pride ourselves here on BRR is, like we've mentioned, our studio culture. And a major part of that is social gatherings, which are typically organized around food. So the American Royal every fall typically hosts a barbecue cook-off, which we have our own BRR BQ team that competes in the competition. Unfortunately, that this year I don't believe that it is happening, but something else we do is we have holiday parties where each office tries to celebrate at a local venue. There are studio outings, such as going to lunch with the group at the farmers market on Wednesdays, which is across the street, or happy hour events like Shanks mentioned up on the 4th floor patio area. So BRR also likes to provide many learning seminars and research opportunities. One main one being our open forum discussions, which happen typically every other week, where a team from the firm presents over Zoom a project that they're currently working on and ask for feedback from whoever is attending. There are design charrettes, which are another great opportunity where a design problem is presented, such as our most recent one, which was trying to figure out how COVID will impact the retail experience. So the challenge was to redesign a storefront and customer pickup area around COVID social distancing. And then coming up with design solutions, which you would then present and collaborate with the rest of the group. Innovation groups take similar concepts and study them more in depth and do further research in an effort to create a blog post or a social media post.
As our first bullet point says here, we are here to help each other grow. BRR has a strong focus on helping emerging professionals become licensed architects. Like Shank said, we have a lot of ways that we can do that. We have all sorts of study materials ready to go for you. And in a huge plus, BRR will pay the full cost of each ARE exam that you pass and one mulligan, because let's face it, the tests are really hard. Beyond that, we have groups that meet up in person and online now, where folks can study together and offer guidance on tests that they've recently passed. Mentorship and career growth also don't stop when you become licensed. Our Bridge mentorship program that we have connects people with all different points in their professional career. Once you fill out a questionnaire, we'll group you up and meet so that you can find someone that meets your goals that you're looking to achieve. And you can also be a mentor and mentee at the same time. One of the best parts of all this is getting to celebrate a team member's personal success. When someone has completed all the requirements to become an architect, we have a party. And that includes, like we said before, food and a drink. So, you know, like you see on the right here, we'll have some folks get together, maybe your studio, maybe some other friends in the company, and it's just a very cool experience. And again, professional development isn't limited to licensure. BRR provides all sorts of ways to grow in smaller commitments. Our 10-minute talks are something that we've been doing since before the pandemic, but we've really come to appreciate them now that so many are away from the office. Over Zoom, someone will use 10 minutes, though often a little bit more, to cover an expertise or insight of theirs. We also have been using Zoom to pick up some work hacks with the newest member of our HR team, Wendy. She has a bunch of great insights on how to improve your workflow and just be better team members, such as presenting and using various software tools like OneNote, all that kind of stuff. And then finally, one of the best things we get to use as a firm of our size is our QC collective. This is a group of seasoned architects and engineers who can sit down with you and they'll talk through all the different ways to make your project stronger, whether it's a flashing detail or egress plan. In addition to them, we also have IT specialists, code specialists, and client project managers. And as you saw earlier, we also have a great videographer too. Altogether, there's always someone who can help you if you need it. It doesn't matter whether you're in our Philly, San Francisco, or Atlanta offices, they're always there for you. So with that said, I'd like to hand it over to Katie in our Austin office, who can share a little bit more on what it's like to actually be in one of our satellite offices.
Thanks, Andrew. Hi, guys. I'm in the Austin office, and actually, when I started at BRR, I was in the Kansas City office and moved down here shortly after. So I've been fortunate to work in both settings. There's a couple similarities and differences I'll talk about. Our collaborative environment that we see in the headquarters really does extend to our regional offices. We'll often work with peers in the Kansas City office and across our other regional offices. So digital communication and collaboration really became a huge part of our everyday life, even before all of this happened. So we were already using Zoom, Teams, Bluebeam, Revit, you name it. We were collaborating across offices. So we were, I think, uniquely prepared for all of this. So in addition to collaborating across the offices, just like the studios in the Kansas City office, not everybody in your office may necessarily be working on the same team, client, or even project type. And that gives us a chance to get so many different perspectives on the problems that we're tackling in our work. It also allows you to switch up teams and project types if you'd like to. So a couple differences. It's very, although we're very similar, the regional offices kind of do feel more like a small local firm just because you're not in a larger office. That being said, it does feel like a small firm, but you have all of the resources, the support, and the perks of the large company. So although, like Andrew said, we may not have the code expert in our office, she's just a phone call or an instant message away, which is really an awesome resource to have. You also get to be involved in a lot of the office events, holiday parties, barbecue events. That is also a passion of ours in the Austin office, because, when there's only 9 of you, of course, everybody's going to have an opinion on planning those things. So like I said, in Austin, we have about 9 people. And so it's not uncommon for someone to be talking about a detail that they're working on or a problem that they're trying to solve. And you'll get the whole office to chime in and give you their piece of advice on how they think you should handle it, which is just an amazing amount of experience levels and perspective to get. So I really love it. Even in our largest regional office, though, I believe we have less than 30 employees. So that is something that makes us a little bit different that you'll see across our regional offices. So now that you've heard about the regional office experience, we wanted to show you a video of our Austin office.
Sort of opened this office halfway because we were doing a lot of work here. It's a big state. The first 5 or 6 people who were here from the office, weren't from here. So we all had a real common bond because of that. It's a tight-knit group. We're all new to this environment, and so we're all going through a lot of those life experiences together. There are so many people who want to live in Austin. particularly from the rest of the state and the rest of the region, because there is more going on here. There's a lot of building, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of entertainment. One of my favorite things is, despite the fact that it's 30 days over 100 degrees, if you're under a tree, you got some shade and breeze, it's really not that bad. It's just active. Like, there's a lot that's going on. There's trails everywhere. On a weekend, you come out here and the whole lake is just packed with people on kayaks or who are doing the paddle boarding. For us, I knew it was going to be a place where there was a lot going on. There's a lot of people who are moving here from the technology sector. When we first got here, a lot of people you'd meet say, well, which tech company do you work for? And it's just that much going on. So Texas was always, well, it's in the Midwest, we can get there pretty quickly. There was a lot that we were doing in Dallas, and there was a lot that we were doing in Houston. And Austin is pretty much centrally located right between both of those. We can get to both of those within a 3-hour drive or a 25-minute flight. We've been doing mostly grocery projects. We've done some retail. We've done a lot of restaurant work. We had an opportunity with a client of ours whose global headquarters is here, but they've also got all these other 11 different regions across the country. So once a week, we're running down over to their office for usual meetings, or something comes up, hey, I can be there in 10 minutes. We're hoping to get more work, put the right people on that work, let them be successful with it, and see where it grows from there.
You guys saw in that video one of our favorite patio spots. They have the best sangria. If you're ever in Austin, you got to try it.
So Avenue 82 is our new office here in Overland Park as our headquarters. I believe we moved in January. I was not an intern at the old office, so I didn't get to experience the transition. But as you can see, it's a really cool place to work. And at this point, we'd like to. It's a 4-story building. BRR occupies the top 2 floors. The entire project was designed and detailed internally. Part of the revitalization of downtown Overland Park, which includes a nearby food hall, apartments, and tons of local merchants. So our old office was fairly closed off with low ceilings. Avenue 82 is very open and easy to connect with coworkers and other teams. New staircase is a huge part of the main design. Workspace flexibility was big in the design. Tons of breakout spaces for individuals of up to 20 people. Most and eventually all employees will have a laptop to work in and out of the office, which really helped us transition into this COVID working environment. Individual workstations are designed for easy moving. Pack up your laptops and personal belongings, and you're done. So work hard, play hard, large indoor, outdoor lounge spaces. Used for signing parties, foosball competitions, and general studio get-togethers like those happy hours we talked about. Views from the building are great. You can see downtown Kansas City off in the distance and southern Overland Park. As said earlier, we work to maintain connections with our communities. In the main building lobby, we work with local artists to showcase their work in the galleries, like set up huge improvement. It's a huge improvement from the old office. So our next project is a Whole Foods, which is in Tempe, Arizona. One of the many project types we work with here at BRR is grocery store design. For this Tempe Whole Foods, the goal was to utilize the prominent street corner to invite people into the store. The materiality on the exterior facade has an interesting visual texture and allows the store not to feel like a heavy base with the apartment building above. The use of bright colors and bold signage gives the interior of the store an enjoyable atmosphere to shop. Lighting and materiality also drove a lot of the interior design here to give the space a bit more character than a conventional grocery store would have. It also has a second-story mezzanine seating area that can be opened up to overlook the streetscape.
Yeah, so this next project is a sequel project for us. It is a client that we've worked with before, but after they were experiencing rapid growth, they didn't hesitate to call us for this project. And the way that this design was derived at was a multidiscipline charrette where, you know, ourselves along with our engineers and interior designers all got together to really quickly come up with this concept. And while the concept may look pretty clean and modern, you know, on the abstract, as you get in a bit closer, it reveals quite a bit. For instance, the fritted glass that you see there is actually binary code. And then as a cyber defense center, security was a huge factor for this design. So while it's hard to see in images, biometrics have been included here for room access. And we've literally designed the building around the control center, which is that central cube that you see in sort of a dark gray there on the image. So like Avenue 82, flexibility in creating a variety of workspaces drove a lot of the interior design. The top two images show how a lounge and workspace become one. It's hard to tell really where work and lounging sort of shifts. The table at the bottom left is part of a grand procession or a procession that we have for visitors coming through the space. A conference room, which you can kind of see there in the back corner, has a wall that's entirely glazing. So when a switch is flipped, the whole control center below there is revealed. Then visitors can be brought next door to this magic table, if you want to call it that, which controls the main display for the command center. It's pretty theatrical. Overall, it's a space that is all about worker flexibility and showmanship for potential employees.
So another one of the project types that we work with are fulfillment centers. So in this case, it's a Lowe's fulfillment center in Coopertown, Tennessee. And it is over 1 million square feet in size. The design was inspired by parcels flying through the automated fulfillment equipment. And this concept is carried through the exterior and the interior spaces. A bright color scheme was used to energize employees in the offices and the manufacturing floors. Hydrogen fuel cell powered equipment and state-of-the-art automated storage and retrieval systems were utilized as well.
So this will be our final project that we showed you guys today. This is an 18-story tower that's located in the medical district of Houston. It was originally completed in 1957, and for those of you that are very into mid-century modern, this was designed by Gordon Bunshaft when he worked at SOM. So since this was a historic structure, it led to a lot of considerations for preservation. You know, how are you going to modernize a tower without, you know, destroying everything that makes it unique? So like Fish Tech, we brought in a multidiscipline charrette. It actually took place at the hotel. And in a matter of days, the overall aesthetic and treatment was agreed to that you can see here, which sort of blends together mid-century, but also fully embraces modern design. So hotel projects are often great for creating unique high-end design solutions. Given the mid-century structure of the building, the rooms had to be designed really efficiently. The headboard you're seeing here also works as mood lighting and night table. And then obviously sliding doors are a big part of that. If I showed you the floor plan, you'd be pretty surprised by how efficient we're making all that space. And then the image you see in the right corner there actually used to just be the top of a parking garage. And we've managed to make a pretty impressive transformation so that unremarkable roof deck with HVAC units just sort of littered all over it. We've transformed into this lounge that's got really killer views of the surrounding neighborhood. And then glazing we've used strategically so that there's almost a seamless experience between these outdoor spaces and the interior restaurant and conference rooms that are nearby. The project overall, it's a beautiful one, but it's only, you know, this along with the others are just a sliver of the different markets that we work in. We've got a ton of exciting projects on the boards waiting to be made public in all our offices, and we'd love to share them with you. but unfortunately we can't today. So with that, I'd like to hand things over to Laura in our Phoenix satellite office.
Thanks, Andrew. Similar to Katie, in our Austin office, I also started my career in our Kansas City office, moved from Lawrence to Kansas City and then Kansas City to Phoenix last year. So while it took me some time to get used to our consistent, 100-degree weather in the summer, I am loving my new home, and we're flying our Jayhawk flag proudly. So our regional office here, we only have 12 people, so very small, very similar to our other regional offices. And we do work on about every different project type that our company-wide does. So it's awesome to see, like a progress photo on one person's computer of like a new grocery store, or construction documents for a retail client on another one, or a rendering, being tweaked for a coffee shop that's down the street. So it's pretty awesome that in our small little studio, we can touch so many different project types, and that's very unique to our regional offices. So with that being said, here's a little small video showcasing the Valley in the Sun.
One of the biggest assets, obviously, is number of days of sunshine that we get. There's mountains in the north. To the west, you're in San Diego at the coast, at the beach. You can go to Mexico to the south. The city itself, there's a lot of culture, museums, and art, sports, athletics. There's something for everybody that's here. Early 2000s, there were multiple projects that we were doing at the time in the Valley in Phoenix. And there were multiple people from our office coming here weekly. As the years progressed between 2000 and 2005, we were coming to Phoenix more and more. It made sense to look at opening an office. Having a local presence has allowed us to be more responsive, get approvals faster. We've been able to develop relationships with local consultants to provide our best service to our clients. We're very responsive in replying and staying on top of our projects. Sundown rule is something that I think our clients very much appreciate. They mention repeatedly that our responsiveness is unparalleled. In the world of retail, once a decision is made that they want to move forward with the project, the mentality of that group is that we're behind schedule until the store's open. So one of the things that I think is unique about BRR is our commitment to our employees. We've got a mentality of really allowing our younger staff to have opportunities to grow and develop into well-rounded architects. Beyond that, I think the other thing that is attractive to some of our staff is our commitment to their professional development. We have a set program that really helps them develop into and get their license, and we push them to do that. Being a part of a smaller office is nice in that you are able to build relationships with the staff. I think we're a relaxed group. We work well together. There's a good mix of personalities that work together well with each other. We have a mentality of we succeed together, we fail together. We have the power and the backing of a big firm so that when we need to pull in extra help with a phone call, we can get the bodies that we need to be able to produce a project.
All right. So with that, we're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion. And so I'm going to introduce John Gripka. He is going to be our moderator for a little panel discussion.
Sorry about that. First, I'm going to some of our newer employees. We've got Leah, who's a new hire, and Ethan, who's a third-week intern. Could you guys talk about the differences between being an intern and a full-time employee at BRR?
Yeah, so I think it's mainly responsibilities. As an intern, I helped out a lot on bigger projects, being overseen by a project manager really closely. And then as I've kind of transitioned into being full-time, I've had a little bit more freedom and a little bit more of my own responsibility on smaller projects, and just kind of given, a little bit more, I don't know how to say, been told to just kind of run with it and see how far I get. And then a project manager will come in and be like, we don't want to do that way. That looks really expensive. Let's edit this way, and kind of continuing to teach and grow.
Kind of like letting you kind of figure things out on your own a bit, but make it down the right path. Yeah, sure.
Take the reins myself a little bit,
Sure. How about you, Ethan?
Well, I can't speak on being a full-time employee yet, but I can talk about the transition from being a student. But I will say that from what I've experienced here, I started here July 6th. And so from what I've experienced so far, no one really treats me like an intern here. I'm treated as if I were a full-time employee, which is really awesome. And whenever I first started, if I needed help with a program or had extra questions, everybody's a Zoom call away, and they have no hesitation to help you. Yeah, so I think what shocked me, transitioning from being a student in a studio environment to working full-time as an intern, is how many people are involved on one project and how well everybody works together here. It's a very well-oiled machine. There's a lot of collaboration and communication. So I've really enjoyed my time here so far.
Do you guys feel that COVID has been kind of a damper on your experiences early on, or do you feel like it's been a pretty good transition despite that?
I mean, the end of my internship was kind of in the middle of COVID, so it's been a weird but smooth transition for me from intern to full-time, and COVID has kind of definitely impacted the way we celebrate starting full-time and stuff, but I don't think it's really affected workflow all too much.
I haven't really seen it affect my workflow as much either. I think that BRR already had a really good base of communication through Teams and Zoom and Bluebeam before the pandemic happened, that it was a pretty seamless transition for everybody.
And I would like to add, a nice thing about BRR is that we designed the built environment. So pretty much when COVID hit, BRR is pretty much responsible for a lot of the buildings that you need to go to get your essentials. So I think that's what's been keeping us strong and allowing us to continue to work and get even more work during this time.
Okay, next question I'm going to throw at Laura. Laura, you've been in the business a little bit longer than some of these guys. So what would you say are the most important programs that you need to know in the professional world? And are these programs that you became familiar with in school, or are they ones that you came across more out of school? How does that work?
Yeah. So when I was in college, Revit was just starting to pick up speed. And so we really used CAD back in college and like Rhino. And I know that's a little bit probably antiquated from what you guys are dealing with now, but in the professional world, it's really kind of client driven, whether we use Revit or AutoCAD. I wish we were all in Revit just to help streamline it, but unfortunately there are clients that dictate to use CAD. So those are our two main developers for our documents are that. And so I don't think CAD is being taught that much in college these days, but I would, yeah, I'll see a lot of shaking heads. So I would suggest getting kind of like that student version, that free trial version, and doing something as simple as like trying to like draw your dorm room or your apartment just to start to get familiar, because you just never know when you get out into the real world what you're going to be using, and just kind of help you give a leg up. And two, you can get that on your resume saying that you do know both of those programs somewhat, and you can kind of get more proficient as you use it. But I would definitely have a good knowledge of both of those. Another program that we use extensively is Bluebeam. It is the new and improved Acrobat. I will never ever go back to Acrobat, like Adobe Acrobat, ever. Not only do we use it as just a PDF maker, but I mean, I sketch in it, I redline in it. There's called a Bluebeam session where I can be QCing a construction document set, and my team will be in it as well, and it's a live document. It just makes for really great collaboration, and honestly is a huge saver during this COVID time, that we can be working just like we would next to each other, you know, desk by desk. We just happen to be, you know, house to house now. So, and then the last one I think everybody's familiar with, but SketchUp. John uses SketchUp, I know, every single day. And I think that's probably widely used in college. But so just kind of collectively, I'd say those four. And if you're not familiar with anyone, like I said, start with, you know, drawing your dorm room or your apartment, just to start understanding how those function. So, yeah.
And I can add to that as well, because before I started here, I hadn't used AutoCAD since high school. So, and my team exclusively uses AutoCAD. So I had to was tossed in the deep end. And so what I would recommend is really focus on the quick commands. The key commands they make you so much more efficient on AutoCAD. So that was the thing that helped me the most. And then, like she was saying, Bluebeam is something we use every day, and I'm sure most of you have used it with Jason Haskell and structures, but it's a lot more than just structures. So
yes.
Yeah, something to know is in architecture, there are a lot of old guys that grew up on CAD. I mean, there were a lot of guys that grew up on hand drawing, but CAD was the tool for like 20 or 25 years and maybe longer. And so there are a lot of guys that still use it exclusively, and a lot of clients that expect you to use it. So it's just a really important asset to have in your reservoir of tools. So I'd highly encourage at least getting some exposure to that. Revit's the way of the future. We all know that. It's the best tool for drawing, but you got to have some CAD too.
Yeah, and I think SketchUp is like taken off with, especially with our virtual reality experiences that we're doing now. I know last time I used SketchUp, we used it for virtual reality, and it really it changed the way we designed that project, getting the client into the space in virtual reality, and you're able to be on there on the computer and moving things around while they're in the headset. So can't stress SketchUp enough too.
Yeah, definitely a game changer.
Yeah, I don't want to tout SketchUp because, you know, it's maybe a little bit, but, you know, it's an important one too. Okay, so moving along, let's go to, so due to COVID, how has everyone's workflow and interaction within the office changed?
I think the leadership team has kind of taken COVID taken a really strong hand with it, and they started doing, you know, James Haley, our CEO, had fireside chats every Monday. We call them like coffee talks or something. And during the whole lockdown, they were really responsive and tried to tell everyone everything that was going on and make sure that everybody was informed. And then since we have such a diverse portfolio, people were able to like move around on teams and keep working, which was pretty great. I've kind of started to go back to the office. Here in Kansas City, it's opening back up, but, you know, only a couple times a week, like a lot of other people, trying to keep my distance from people and not add any germs to anything.
Yeah, that one of the things I'll add to that is just leadership was very proactive about how we were going to come back to the office. They wanted to make sure that you know, from an adult standpoint, people have kids, you know, they have situations where maybe their internet's not as good. And so they need to be in the office to be productive. And it was an important thing to make that available as soon as possible. But I think leadership did that in a really responsible and important way. They made sure that everybody kind of came back in shifts and phased in, and made sure that social distancing was a priority. So I think they did a pretty good job of that as well.
Yeah, I know we have hundreds of Zoom calls now, so lots of Zoom calls, just like everybody else. That, like everyone said, like we were pretty well set up, and it was a very seamless transition in March when the kind of the orders came down. And so, and working, honestly, like being in a regional office, I was already working remotely, you know, with my people in Kansas City. So honestly, the transition for us was null and void. There was no transition because we just happened to be at home instead of the office. And so there was no changes. And honestly, with a lot of our clients, not being local, I'm lucky in that my client that I manage is local to Phoenix, but a lot of our clients are not local to a lot of our offices. So we were already working remotely with them on conference calls and Zoom calls. So
Yeah, I would say the same. Like the team that I am on has 5 offices on that team, and so we were already meeting virtually. I would say the only thing that's a little bit different is if, you know, I wanted to talk to my people in the Austin office about something, it's just a little bit more effort just to hit the Zoom call button to get multiple people on the screen, but that was pretty much it. And I think there was a little bit of a transition getting used to having to do that and feeling comfortable with like, all right, they're available, I'm just going to call them, and everybody got used to it pretty quickly.
Yeah, we've actually eliminated our actual phone company or service that we had, and we've gone to Zoom as our phone service now. So it's integrated in our entire Zoom platform, which is pretty nice and pretty convenient because you can make calls from your computer. But we're just slowly moving away from the handset as a society, I think, and BRR is kind of at the forefront of that. Okay, so next,
some people really love their handset.
yeah. Reference back to those old guys I was talking about earlier. Okay, so I got a couple more questions I want to get in. I want to allow some time for you guys to ask questions as well. So can you guys talk about your experiences with professional certification and licensing at BRR?
Go ahead, Shanks.
Okay. I think it was in March. I got my lead green associate certification. I kind of wanted to do that before I started studying for my AREs. And one thing that I like that BRR is about goals, or I would say SMART goals, and they very much so encourage it. Even they give it to our clients for our clients to use it. And so I kind of put a SMART goal together for me to pass for my green associate. And then we also have one thing that we do at the front. We have our reviews, our quarterly reviews, and I remember bringing it up at a quarterly review, and they suggested to pay for your exam first, and so that really kind of pushed me to like take the exam, or I would say study, because at first I would study and then I'll stop, and then finally I paid for it, and as I got closer to the date, I really started to study. And so that's been a cool experience, and now I'm in the process of studying AREs right now.
Yeah, scheduling your test definitely puts the pressure on. You have a date that you have to hit. I had to do that a couple times for sure. I just got licensed about a year ago, and yeah, it took a lot of work, a lot of studying, had a lot of support. There was 3 of us in the Austin office that were all studying at the same time, and so we could get together and it's like a group motivation. So the support aspect is just great. You know, getting time off to actually go take the test, and then it's a great feeling when you get to come back to the office and say, I passed, and everybody goes out for a happy hour to celebrate. The signing party is awesome too. So yeah, it was a hard experience, but made easier with the support system for sure. There's even a couple like I don't want to say contest, but like a bet going on in the Austin office. If somebody passes all their tests in a certain amount of time, like somebody's going to shave their beard. So we make it fun.
Okay, I got a question from the crowd. This is from Anna. She says, any apps or programs that help you to collaborate? She said, I heard of Miro or Miro. I haven't heard of that one personally. Have you guys?
I have not. No.
I haven't. No.
Yeah, Miro is, I mean, I haven't used it, but I've seen it used. It's something that you can like, it's essentially like a virtual board where multiple people can be working on it and posting images and sketches at the same time. But I would say that we're equally efficient through Zoom and screen sharing. And then we also use Microsoft Teams as well.
Yeah, I've done a lot of markups on Zoom as well.
We've used for just, inspirational imagery and stuff like that. We've actually started making Pinterest boards, which is, a little bit dated in the realm of social media, but that's something that a few years back we started using and clients would get on there as well. We've also used like Google accounts and Dropbox and just things like that, stuff that's not really that out there, but we've kind of used it in creative ways with our clients to make sure that we can all put things in one place and all see it. Okay, any other questions from the students out there? You can chime in, ask in the chat, or just unmute and ask.
Yeah, what is it like transitioning from a larger office, just Kansas City, to one of the satellite offices?
It was good. It was I don't want to say a bit of culture shock, but it was a change to go from a very large building with 100 plus people to when I came down to the Austin office, I was the 5th person to be here. We didn't even take up half the office. But like you saw my boss in that video, we all were doing the same thing, moving there, and we all had similar experiences, and it really does like make you a really tight-knit group. They help you with apartment hunting and showing you around when you move down there. So it was great. I grew up outside of Lawrence, so this was kind of the farthest ever I've been away from home, and it was really nice to have almost like an automatic set of friends in our office.
Yeah, I can second that. I actually started my career at another firm that was about 20 people. And then I moved after a few years to BRR. So to me, that was a culture shock going from that small of a firm to our Kansas City headquarters. And so I thoroughly embraced when I moved to Phoenix. I felt like it was the right fit for me. Just that is me personally. That's my personal preference to have that kind of smaller office mentality. So I thoroughly embraced it. I loved it. I was like, yes, sign me up. I'm moving to Phoenix. And I grew up outside of Kansas City, south of Kansas City. So this was definitely, like you said, it's kind of like a built-in family here in Phoenix to a city that I was not familiar with, a year ago. So it was a great transition. So just don't move to Phoenix in the summer like I did.
How was transitioning from a studio in college to the studio at the workplace?
So the second half of last semester was our like capstone studio technically, and so I was with it was a partner project, and we were originally supposed to, build a full-scale model wall section of our building on the second half of the semester, but after spring break it went completely online. So that came with difficulties of learning how to work remotely, which I'm sure everybody is dealing with right now. So the transition from working remotely with a studio to working in an office was a little bit different, but like we've mentioned with Bluebeam and Zoom, it's even though a lot of people aren't in the office, I work in the office 5 days a week, but most of the people I work with work from home. So screen sharing with Zoom really makes everything really efficient. So
I would kind of say, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. It's kind of like going from working on partner projects with just peers to working on partner projects with people who actually know things. So you can ask, you know, hey, how should this look? And somebody can walk you through and explain how things will really be built instead of just going, you know, I think it's like this. And then you kind of agree and go with it and hope for the best in school. But there are people, all the people around you are there to teach you and help you learn working professionally. So it's a little bit easier and a little bit more certain most of the time.
Yeah, I was going to say basically that, Leah, is that in studio, you know, it's very like central focus on your own individual projects. You may have a team project here and there, but the biggest difference is going from working on your own project to working on a project collectively, you know, with a huge group of people. It's very rare that you're going to have a project professionally that is just you. Like, we don't even have a single project at BRR that it's just one person. So you're always going to be working with a team and having that collaboration. So I think that's the biggest, in my opinion, the biggest difference between the two.
And final thing, go ahead, Shanks.
No, you're good. You're good. You can go.
I was just going to add, sort of tag off of that, is your iterative design is going to move a lot quicker. Obviously, you're not dealing with the additional classes and responsibilities of college, but you're going to be coming up with concepts in a matter of hours to days rather than weeks to months. And while that might sound daunting, being in the professional world, you're going to pick up a lot of tricks and shortcuts and stuff so that you can move through that without, you know, being too stressed on anything.
So it's a little different too when you're doing architecture literally from 8 to 10 hours a day, as opposed to, you know, as a student, you might just be doing it a few hours. So you really get engrossed in it. Your progress doesn't really get interrupted during that time.
Talk a little bit about your client interaction and how they impact that movement.
Well, you are an agent of your client. You are working for that person and you're providing them something because they have their needs. They're not just building buildings because they like to see things, you know, get built. They need to make money. And so what it comes down to is you now have budgets, you now have, deliverable dates and expectations, and you have to kind of interpret their needs. In some cases, you have to extract that, and then you have to produce on their timelines. And so you don't just get an amount of time and all of this artistic freedom to do what you want. You have a lot of different requirements that you have to meet that are based on what your client requires. And, you know, I speak mostly from the standpoint of a concept designer. And when it gets into someone who's drawing the drawings, like a lot of our participants here are, then it comes down to you have to meet a lot of regulations and codes, and you have to go through QCs on our end. You have to make sure that, you know, the liability standpoint are covered so that, you know, your client or your firm is not getting sued based on what you draw, things like that. So there is a lot of boxes that have to be checked in order to get a set of drawings and get a design out the door. And you know, it's, as a student, I'd say really embrace what you're doing now because you get a lot of freedom. As a professional, you get freedoms, but you also have to, you know, answer to the person that you're ultimately working for.
Yeah, I think our clients really appreciate our ability to sit down and sketch things out and present them with different options, and that they can trust us that what we're presenting is going to be like code compliant and up to speed on everything. And I also like that a lot of times with client interactions, you can get almost immediate feedback. It's a very collaborative relationship in my experience. And so you're not working on something for a month and then come to a critique and they don't like it. It's kind of like, hey, what do you think about this? And it's a collaborative and an evolving process.
For me, I felt like having studio at KU, everything was about just based off of design base, like how can you present and does it look nice, is it a good board, versus now working in the studio and just working on construction documents, I think about, does the person or on the other line, or the GC, the general contractor, can they understand this and can they build what I drew? So just making sure you translate, not just for architects to understand, but for general contractors, structural engineers, mechanical, plumbing, for everybody to understand what you're drawing is very important.
And I would say also, like, this may sound like a cliche answer, but something that architecture school really taught me was like problem solving efficiently. So using those skills that you learned in studio, and whether you're working on a huge building or you're working on, you know, a smaller project, you can use those skills to work efficiently, which helps your team and the client. And like Shank says, communication is really crucial with that.
Okay, guys, anything else? I know we've gone a little bit over on time. I hope that doesn't mess anything up schedule-wise. But all right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We're really happy to be able to present something about our firm with you guys, and hope that you learned a bit from us. I'm going to hand it back over to Olivia and Ethan, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate all your insight and showing us projects and travel and all kinds of stuff, all different aspects of your firm. I think it was very helpful for everybody. So thank you all for being here from all your offices, and thank you for all the KU students for being here, and hope you guys have a great weekend.